Hi there, welcome to Litecoin Wyckoff technical analysis session. Litecoin has exhibited a little bit of rebound this week, so would that continue? And why I said it's repeating end of 2024? Let's find out. Looking at the weekly chart, we are seeing this little bit of price recovery, and then this buying climax with a question mark can probably be confirmed because what happens here, it seems like the buying climax has already happened, because the previous one back in 2024 was end of 2024 was also around this level. But then the closing price is a bit disappointing this time. However, sometimes I observe that the PSY tend to exhibit some kind of horizontal trading before the price actually goes to the buying climax. That's why I'm keeping this question mark over here. So hoping the bulls may still have their chance, even though I mentioned many times that the price since the fall in beginning of 2022 hasn't really come above or outside of this white box, this long-term playground zone, is not a healthy sign, because the two crazy distribution cycles back in 20 to 22 as well as 17 to 18 both were very impressive, that they are like 20, I wouldn't say 20, but it's like 250% of the size of this range. So meaning, draw 1, that's 100%, that's 200%, that's another 50%. That's why I say 250. This is basically the height of this box. This is like 250% more, meaning it's like 3.5 times if you count by the bars, than the height of the box. So far, we're only within the box still, so that's why I said it's a little bit disappointing and a little bit risky if it really comes at a downtrend for the peaks, because where it closed compared to where we closed in the middle of this month, not this month actually, last month during August, that's a declining trend. So hopefully that's not going to continue, and we won't see the next distribution cycle ended up somewhere below the green key level of 116. That's not something, if you are hoping for long-term success with Litecoin, should happen. And then here, these stages, AR may have already happened, automatic reaction. So next we would be expecting a second test or a thrust if it's really positive. But the thing is, if we look at what happened back in end of last year, this second test over here before the second test is basically some sideways trading. So this can totally repeat, meaning it can bounce between the yellow dashed line and the green key level 116. So that's why I say it may repeat that pattern. Also, one more factor is this box, this blue box over here. So the tendency now, because this key level has become a strong resistance, and price may likely get rejected from that level. However, when we get closer and closer into October, and like near the end of October, this triangle, this ascending triangle, is getting like to the tip. So when it happens, if it really follows the candlestick pattern analysis, an ascending triangle will end up leading to the price going to the upside. Hopefully that's the case. However, that doesn't mean it can go all the way for an upthrust, because the second test can be above the green key level but below the buying climax. So while you may be able to celebrate if you are successful in catching this rebound, always keep your stop loss, because this can just end up as a second test that's below the buying climax. This was the buying climax, this was the second test back in late last year and early this year. So hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Like sign of weakness maybe further down the line, like I put here around mid and November, but we have to see whether this price is still continuing within this upward channel box, this blue box. If it does, then this sign of weakness would come at a later date, so it's a tentative marker over there. In the weekly time frame, we have to wait a bit longer for the Wyckoff events to happen. So let's go to the daily and see what we see from there. First, let me check this Bollinger Band curtain squeeze. So after the squeeze back in late August, like 22nd, well even 21st, 22nd, 23, the price came down and then released a little bit of squeeze energy, but still I would consider we're still within a squeeze. So if it really trades sideways, then another bigger price move would happen. So turning off this, what's going on is it's still within this downward channel. Unfortunately, if you are in the bulls team, then it hasn't broken outside of this channel yet. However, similar to what I said in the weekly chart, something is close. This channel box is crossing this yellow dashed line, and by end of next week, this tip will be near. So again, descending triangle over here now. Well, in the weekly is an ascending triangle, but it's very further down the line. For the daily, it's a descending triangle, so maybe next week, sometime between now and end of next week, the price may come down to test the yellow key level, this solid line over here. That's around the price of 100. So when that happens, that means this SOW, well actually, let's say a second one has already happened, and just copy this over here. So you see this dip, there are two dips basically. So the third sign of weakness may happen, and likely another LPSY, but it's getting very busy now, the chart. When I tag everything, every time when it repeats, sometimes I'll just skip and just tag one, and you know all those peaks and all these valleys are the same thing. So very key, in a week's time we'll be able to see, maybe 10 days, not exactly a week, whether the price is going to break below this dashed support line and challenge the key level of 100, or is it going to break outside of this downward channel and then continue to go up, because this blue box over here is the bigger upward channel, and if it really comes below the yellow dashed line, what happens would be that it tests the yellow, but eventually rebound and get outside of this white bull flag, I would say. Not saying that it can't break the blue box second time, it can, because once it goes up, it may rebound from the green and then start a new declining trend and eventually head to the downside. It all depends on what the weekly time frame is doing. If there is going to be an upthrust or a second test, obviously the price in the daily can go and retest those levels that are close to this white line over here. It's still within the upward channel that we're talking about, and maybe even an upthrust of the distribution that's closer to the 155 level, which is something the bulls or the long-term supporters for Litecoin is happy to see, because that's a level at least is comparable to what happened in December last year. So from a long-term perspective, if the speculative behavior can climb back to a prior level, that means people are still interested in trading it. Not necessarily like hardcore supporters, but at least they think Litecoin still is a good enough speculative asset that they would like to trade in. So that's a good sign for people who wants to take some profit from trading Litecoin. Thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow, I guess. That's the last session for today.